All right, let's talk about it. It's one of those classic dating questions that seems to trip everyone up. Do you bring flowers on a first date? I mean, is it this timeless, super romantic gesture? Or is it just a little old-fashioned, maybe even coming on way too strong? It's a real dilemma, and today we're going to try and figure it out by looking at what actually works in the wild world of modern dating.
So yeah, what's the deal? Is it a yes or a no? If you've ever stood in front of a flower shop just completely frozen, wondering if you're about to make a great move or a huge mistake, you are definitely not alone. The advice is all over the place, and it feels like for every person who'd be charmed by it, there's someone else who'd be totally weirded out.
On one side of the fence, you've got people like this Reddit user who are just all in. For them, it's a huge win. It shows you went the extra mile, that you put some real thought into it. It's impressive.
And then, bam, you get the complete opposite, a hard never from a professional dating coach. His take? In today's world, it can come off as trying too hard, maybe even a little desperate. So, who's right here?
Okay, so you've got Team Romance on one side and Team Red Flag on the other. This is the core of it, right? To figure this out, we need to get past our gut feelings and look at what the chances really are of this whole thing blowing up in your face. And, the pressure is real. Psychological studies show that you have about 7 seconds to make a first impression. That's it. So a big gesture, like showing up with flowers, it's carrying a ton of weight in that tiny little window.
But hey, if you're sweating this, thinking you're going to totally blow it, the numbers might actually help you relax a bit. A survey found that a whopping 98% of people would not be turned off by getting flowers. Only a tiny 2% said it would be an ick. So, while it might not be the perfect move for everyone, the odds of it being an instant disaster are actually super, super low.
Okay, so if it's not a total deal breaker, then what's the secret? Well, it seems like what most people agree on is that it's less about if you should bring flowers and way more about when you bring them and who you're giving them to. It all comes down to the vibe check.
And this slide just lays it out perfectly. Look, on one hand, you've got a match from a dating app. You've barely talked. Showing up with a bouquet can feel like, whoa, a little too much, too soon. But on the other hand, if you're finally taking out a friend or a colleague on a real date, the whole dynamic changes. Those flowers send a clear signal. Hey, I'm serious about making this romantic.
And just when you think you've got it figured out, there's another wrinkle: culture. For example, in some Eastern European cultures, bringing a small gift is pretty much expected. It shows you're genuine. But in a lot of Western countries, that same gesture can feel kind of overwhelming on a first meetup. So yeah, it really helps to know your audience. But okay, let's say you nail the vibe check. You're still not totally out of the woods. Because now we have to talk about the practical side of things. Even the best intentions can create some seriously awkward problems for your date.
And this is the part people forget, right? Your beautiful, thoughtful gift can turn into a total hassle. Now they've got to lug them around all night. Where do they even put them during dinner? What if they're taking the bus home? And that's not even getting into allergies or the fact that some flowers, like lilies, are actually poisonous to pets. See? Your romantic gesture can become a logistical nightmare fast.
So logistics are one thing, but let's dig a little deeper. Let's get into the psychology of it. What message are you really sending with that bouquet? Both the good and maybe the not so good. And it turns out this whole idea of flowers sending a message, it's not new at all. Check this out. Back in the Victorian era, they had this whole system called floriography, where every single flower had a secret meaning. It was like texting with plants. So flowers have always been a way to say the things you can't say out loud. And that language is still a thing today, The flower you pick sends a specific vibe. Roses, that's the classic. No mistaking the romance there. Daisies are a little more fun, more playful. Tulips are a great choice if you want to be romantic, but maybe a little less intense than roses. And orchids can give off this cool, modern, sophisticated feel. You're definitely sending a message. But, and this is a big but, what about the message you don't mean to send? This is where it gets complicated. Some dating coaches argue that giving a gift too soon can mess with the power dynamic. It can subconsciously signal that you're putting your date on a pedestal, which, weirdly enough, can actually kill the attraction you're trying to build. In other words, the gift can create this weird sense of pressure. Your date might feel kind of guilty, like now they owe you something, or have to be extra enthusiastic. It can make them feel self-conscious. And really, it might just signal that you're trying a little too hard to be liked, which, isn't always the most attractive look. Okay, wow, that was a lot, right?
We've covered the stats, the context, the awkward logistics, the psychology, the good, the bad, all of it. So let's pull it all together and build a simple, actionable playbook for how to handle this stuff in the real world.
Here we go, your 5-step guide. First up, read the room. Is this a total stranger or someone you already have a connection with? Number 2, start small. Seriously, so many people say a single elegant flower is way more charming than a giant, overwhelming bouquet. 3, consider the logistics. Where are you going? A nice dinner is one thing, a 10-mile hike is another. 4, explore alternatives. Get creative. Maybe bring a small treat for their dog if they've mentioned it, or learn to fold a cool rose out of a napkin at dinner. And finally, number 5, and this might be the golden rule, master the timing. Sending flowers the day after an amazing first date, that is almost universally seen as a total power move. All of the romance, none of the pressure.
So in the end, it really all boils down to this one simple question. Everything you do on a first date tells a story about who you are. So what story do you want to tell? Is it a story of thoughtful, confident romance, or one of awkwardness and pressure? If you think it through, you can make sure your first move, whatever it ends up being, tells exactly the right story.